Welcome to the Dave Grenier podcast, where we talk about photography and other creative things. Today we're joined by Megan Britt. She's a tremendously talented singer and songwriter that sat down with me a little while ago to talk about her story and how she got started in the music industry. So I say a little while ago, but really what I mean was back in 2020 before the pandemic hit. She was kind enough to be my first guest, and then COVID hit, and that just put a pause on everything I was doing. So it's taken a little while. You're going to hear some dates about her music schedule. Obviously, that's going to be dated at this point because as I'm producing this, it's 2023. But that music did come out. Make sure you go give a listen. You can listen on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music, basically everywhere where you can listen to music, you can listen to her. So listen to her story and then make sure you listen to her music. I will link her stuff in the description below. But without further ado, let's just jump right into the interview.
Okay, cool. So, what you and I had a great conversation. See, this is the thing. There we go. That's better.
Yeah, see, that's
better. It's
this,
much more.
it makes sense.
Yeah. You and I had an awesome conversation, like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool to talk to somebody who has that same creative mindset and who's actually had some modicum of success in what they're trying to do. And what brought you there? What brought you to releasing your album, your songs, and then
So much brought me to releasing my album, and the album's not out yet, so I guess releasing just my first song of many songs this year. I mean, I don't know. I feel like first albums for a lot of artists, it's like you're working your whole life to that place. And that's definitely true for this album for me. Like I, grew up in Orange County and went to school out here and lived my life out here. And then, everyone gets to that place of, oh, you're going to go to college. And my mom actually is the one that found Belmont for me, which is in Nashville. I went out to school there. And I feel like when I got to Belmont, when I got to Nashville, that's when I really started my journey of like discovering myself and who I am and just like what it is that I want to be and, just how I want to be as a person. And so, music was always a part of my life from when I was 7. I mean, I started taking piano lessons and my piano teacher kind of realized, oh, hey, you can sing. And so, I'd written here and there in California, but it was really when I got to Nashville that I started really working on myself kind of and getting comfortable with vulnerability and getting comfortable just with my ideas, my thoughts, my feelings. And I think those are the biggest things that contributed to the album finally becoming a thing. So like my boyfriend actually, his sister lives out here in California in Costa Mesa, and she met this girl who knew this woman out in Nashville named Deanna Walker. And Shelly is Nick's sister's name. She was like, Nick, you have to meet this woman. Like, you just have to meet her. So Nick met her and her husband, Rick Beresford. And he was like, Megan, these are the coolest people. You have to meet them. So we all get dinner. And she ends up telling us that she teaches a songwriting class at Vanderbilt and that we should take it. It's like open to the Nashville community apart from kids that actually go to Vanderbilt. So we took the class and it was so much fun. I learned so much. And then she kind of reached out to me and was like, I would really like to write a song with you. Let's have a write, which is what a lot of people do in Nashville. A lot of writers, you get together, you write a song. Sometimes you do something with it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But we wrote, and it was just so much fun. And it was like finally it clicked for me with Deanna and Rick. Like I worked with a couple people. I'd written some songs here and there, my whole life kind of leading up to it, but especially in Nashville. And nothing had ever, I don't know, just like really made me excited and really made me feel like, oh yeah, that's it for me. Because, musically, I'm very inclined. Like I love melodies. I love rhythms. I love figuring out chord progressions on the piano. But when it comes to lyrics, it's not exactly my strong suit.
You'd never know it.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
honestly, you really wouldn't, because there is that vulnerability and that soulfulness that just like it just really comes out, and you would never know by listening to your music that that's not a strong suit.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I definitely have things to say. Don't get me wrong. Like I have things to say. It's just writing a song is different than normal conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like meeting Deanna and Rick, they kind of were able to funnel me and focus me and kind of help me put those pieces together. And they contribute in so many different ways, but I definitely think, you know, they've been able to bring out the stories out of me, you know, and in the right ways, because as much as I don't want to be following a formula because it is just creativity, there definitely is a way to write a song, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, they've just taught me so much. And so, yeah, pretty much after that write, we wrote on January 20th, it was 2019. She was like, I want to help you write an album. And I was like, that's my dream. So
so cool.
absolutely,
Yeah.
you know? And then pretty much I met with them every Sunday. They were so gracious to open their home.
Yeah.
Every single Sunday, I'm at their house, writing music, working on stuff. Until now, here we are. And it's February 2020, I guess actually March 1st now, today. And I just had my first song come out on the 21st of February. And it's just the beginning of so many songs coming out. I'm just so excited about it.
Your journey in this was kind of organic. Like it was something that from 7 years old, you were just kind of like doing your thing. And then you ran into these people that kind of helped. I don't know if mentor is the right word, but just kind of, yeah, they're, you know, like, hey, they saw something in you and you had the drive to do it. Talk about some of your vulnerability, because I love that word, especially for creative people where we don't ever feel we're good enough to actually do, like, oh, I can't do that, or you know, like somebody else is better than I am, or like nobody's going to want to listen to me.
Yeah.
Why am I special? So like what kind of just was your catalyst to being like, yeah, I'm going to do this?
I mean, I think every single artist has the thought, especially, I mean, obviously there's so many different mediums, but especially I feel like singers, songwriter, artists, type of people that put out music. They're like, what if no one listens to my music? What if no one likes my music?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that we're exclusive in that feeling, but
no,
everyone feels that way. But I think for me, the biggest thing was the fact that it's about my joy and my happiness more than finding that validation in others. Do you know what I mean? Like, of course I want people to listen to my music. Of course I want people to like my music. Of course. But at the end of the day, I'm so happy when I'm in the studio writing, and I'm so happy when I'm singing. I think singing is probably my first love and will always be my greatest love. More than anything, performing in front of people, singing by myself in my car, singing with my friends. I mean, it's just, that's what I love. But I think in terms of the way, you know, being an artist is a long-term thing for people and has longevity is that your priorities are straight, you know? Like if your priority and if your goal from releasing music is, oh, I just want so many people to listen to it, I just want to get famous, then odds are you'll probably get led down some paths that aren't really true to who you are. And so, I mean, my goal with being an artist, and I always said this, was that like, if I'm going to release music, it's going to be me, like as authentically as possible.
That's the greatest thing when you do it for yourself. And even if it's not just for you, if it's like, I have a message and I have to do this work because I need to, like with this channel, like it's not, I can't not deliver at least once a month because if it was just for me, just 100% for me, that's all right. I'm too busy. I'm going to go to Disneyland or whatever, you know. But when you have a message that you really want to share with people, it kind of drives you. And and I think it's so important, like you said, to do it for the right reasons, because then it's not just about getting rich and famous, because then you are true to yourself and it's less work. Like
totally, it does not feel like work. I always tell people, I feel like you know that you're doing the right thing when you forget to eat. At least that's for me, because I love food so much. And like sometimes I'm in the studio for 8 hours and I'm like, why do I, like, I'm taking my last take. I'm like, why do I feel so weird? Like, just not hitting this right. And then I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten all day because I've just been so enthralled and like encompassed in what I'm doing. You know?
there's a magic that happens,
Mm-hmm.
and you just get entranced.
Totally.
Yeah, like when I'm doing like video editing, and a lot of times you see the raw cut and it's like, oh, this is terrible, this is
Yeah.
gross, I hate it.
Totally.
But then as you kind of develop that, because you have the raw footage and it's great, but the magic happens when you're editing and
Mm-hmm.
you're telling the story in a certain way, and then you see the
It
vision.
all comes
It's like,
together.
yeah, it's like you know what you want to say for the song,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not until maybe a few verses start to come together and it's, oh yeah, this is it,
Yeah, it's funny, like I sent my parents the work tape of
Mhm.
like the first song I ever wrote with Deanna and Rick. It's called Beautiful Mind. And literally when I was in town, I'm in town, this week, and my dad started playing it and I was like, turn that off.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Like you go back and forth between, my producer Ian Barter, who is incredible, until you get that finished product, and then you're really stoked about actually putting it out. Like I feel like I'm a total perfectionist in that way. Like I do
Yeah.
not want people to hear anything, as I'm sure you don't want people to see anything
No.
until it's done, because it's like there's such a difference between, oh, here's all the tape and the footage that we took,
Yeah.
to here's the edited version. And this is what the message that I wanted to come across because I edited it. It's the same thing with music. It's like, sure, I can write a song, but then it's like the production totally matters. The instrumentation totally matters. The levels totally matter. It's like so much goes into it.
Yeah. I think
know?
the vision too, because there are times where I'll show my wife, like as I'm editing,
Of
I'm like,
course.
oh, this is going to be really cool. And like the last video was, I had that like VHS,
Mhm.
like it, popped
Yeah.
it in. And I loved that effect and how the vision of seeing work go,
Mhm.
rather than, it's kind of like walking into a house that has good bones, but it
Mhm.
looks terrible. And
Yeah.
you see where you
The
can go.
potential.
Yeah. And so do you have that process? Like, like you're writing down the lyrics and then you're like, this isn't good by itself necessarily, but I see the end result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like something that I've always done my whole life is like, you're just walking around life, living life, driving, whatever you're doing, and a thought pops in your brain.
Yeah.
I always try because I'm not always successful, but I try to write it down in my notes in my phone.
Yeah, yeah.
So, if you scroll through my notes, there's so many random lyrics, whether it's a sentence, whether it's 8 sentences, whether it's a chorus or a verse. I always am trying to keep track because there's constant inspiration that you can draw from so many different things, whether it's a conversation or a song or a thought or a sound or a drive or a picture. You know what I mean? There's just so much.
Yeah.
So obviously, when I write down 2 sentences, it's like that's a good starting point, a good jumping off point. But then, the whole process is so different. I mean, every artist I feel like is different with the way that they make music.
Mhm.
Like I already mentioned, I am definitely more musically inclined. So I'm typically starting, if I'm writing it like organically myself, on the piano for sure.
Yeah.
I'm feeling out a chord progression. A lot of times I'm super moody on the piano, because the piano just lends itself to that.
Yeah.
But it's always me starting with a progression for sure, and then melody comes next for me. So I'll be scatting or humming or oohing or awing over it, and lyrics definitely come last for me. No doubt. And then it's like sometimes Ian, my producer, will send us a full blown track. So that's not as organic for me because it's like he gave us the starting point, and then I'll still always lead with melodies.
Yeah.
Melodies are always, and then the song in terms of what it's about. Is it happy or sad? Is it about love or is it about heartbreak? Is it about a concept or is it about something else? It's typically, I'm trying to feel out what the track itself is telling me. You know what I mean? Like, of course, and then I'll be scrolling through the little one-liners that I wrote and be like, oh, that could be a good idea over this, or this could be a good idea over this. And then it kind of just, it's funny too, because a lot of times, a lot of writers like to choose a title, like, I can't stop myself from loving you. And then that's the whole song. But a lot of times, sometimes you can be like, oh, I don't want to stop myself from loving you. And that's the title. And that's supposed to be in the chorus. And then all of a sudden you start writing something completely differently.
Yeah.
Based. I mean, I definitely like to flow. I'm not like super stingent on like, this is what we said we were going to write about, so we need to write about this. It's like, you kind of just have to let the music take you wherever it takes you.
Well, it kind of goes to that muse inspiration where it's like, I'm just a vessel. Like my hands are the things.
Totally.
Like it's just coming. I don't know where it's coming from.
Totally.
And I do the same thing where I love the fact that I have an iPhone or just a phone, because I used to have a notepad everywhere, like I'm next to my bed and then everywhere. But now you just have the notes app and you're just,
It's
same thing.
convenient.
Yeah. And, I have the same thing where I try to organize them into like one master note thing. But
I wish I organized.
yeah,
There's
no,
no
mine's
organizing.
like you're just trying to write it real quick before it disappears from your brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times, I'm like about to go to bed.
All the
I'm
time.
sleeping.
All the time.
I'm about to
Yeah.
sleep. And then a thought comes to my head, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just remember it tomorrow. And then I don't remember
You
it
don't
tomorrow.
remember it
I don't
tomorrow.
even think about
Yeah.
the fact that I had a thought last night tomorrow. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I do that all the time. I don't know if that's because you start to just like you're relaxing and
Yeah.
that part of your brain is starting to process
Just
things
go.
and you just get the best ideas
Yeah, you
ever.
really do.
And then it's hard because then, okay, well, I'll just write that in my thing. And then all of a sudden you have a blue screen and you're waking up.
Stimulation.
Yeah. So I have a pencil and a notepad next to my
Oh,
bed.
smart.
And I don't turn on any light and I just try to
Write it,
scribble out.
yeah.
Yeah. And most of the time it works all right, but it also has
Try to figure it out.
yeah, I try to figure it out in the morning and it's just like whoa,
Yeah.
all over the place.
Totally.
So yeah, there's something about that.
Yeah, you got to catch it when it's striking,
It's so fleeting.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. And what's interesting is you might never use that.
Never.
But I like to get it out of my brain.
Totally.
So then you're not worried about remembering it and then
It opens up space for more things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I got into journaling when I moved to college. Oh, it had to be probably a year or two into being at Belmont, and it's changed my life because it's there's so many times you can get something caught in a loop in your brain. Just writing it down just like opens up space for more. Not to mention writing, a lot of times you're just kind of letting yourself get carried away with whatever thought you're in, so then you can discover new things. It's also cool to be able to look back on, and one of my girlfriends actually, she DM'd me like the day before my release, my first release on the 21st, and she was like, journal today so that you remember this, how you feel, what it's like, because you're never going to get this moment again, which was crazy. Like I had this epiphany of like, oh, this is the beginning of me never not releasing music ever again in my life, which is a great thing and it's exciting, but it's also kind of daunting and overwhelming. It's like nowadays you just have to have a constant flow of content, constant stream of, people's attention spans are just so short.
So fleeting.
Which I'm one of those people. So it's like, I can't blame you, but at the same time, it's definitely like an added pressure of, okay, now I have to be continuing to be giving them more things about me. So they don't forget about me. So they get to know me more, because the market's just so saturated as well. It's like, there's just so many options for people in terms of distractions and what to listen to.
Well, that's like with the videos. That's why I got so overwhelmed that I stopped, because you have to do 3 episodes a week and they have to be over 10 minutes long and they have to, because you have such a saturation of people.
Totally.
And then I just got overwhelmed and I just stopped. And I had every intention of like, oh, I have so many partial episodes. And
totally,
it's like they're all in my hard drive, and maybe I'll make a compilation at some point. But it wasn't until I just decided, I don't care how long it is. It could be a 30-second video. It could be a 3-hour video, whatever. And I want to do it because I want to do it. And I'm just going to do it how I want to do it. I don't have to worry about the lighting. I don't have to worry about the audio. You don't have to have a key light and a backlight.
Doesn't have to be so perfect.
No, it doesn't. And you hear all that noise of people like, this is how you do it. And, and everybody's looking for that rather than just listening to themselves and saying.
And when you decide that for yourself, you feel so much happier and better and more fulfilled in what you're doing anyways. You know what I mean? Because it's like when you're doing it for yourself and when you're able to be intrinsically motivated, like you feel so good because you know that you're progressing and you know that you're doing things that you should be doing for yourself because it makes you happy and it makes you a better person. It's like all of that is like just a domino effect of only making you happier in your life anyways.
Yeah. And that's, I think, ideally what people want to tune in for.
Totally.
And into whatever it is. When they dial into an artist, they're there for that connection. And you won't really get that connection if it's forced labor. Just like to like,
Totally.
put stuff out.
Yeah, that's why for me personally, this whole album, I wanted it to be a full spectrum view of me. You know, I didn't want to just be that artist that wrote about boys. I didn't just want to be that artist that was like a sad girl all the time. Like, there's so many different sides to us as human beings. And so I wanted to really lay that out there, which
Yeah.
is hard to do. But it's also super gratifying because, you know, then you feel like people get to know you more. And it obviously gives them the option to judge you for it.
Yeah.
But you know, there's bound to be people that relate and are going through
Oh,
the
yeah.
same things as you and really need that in that moment. So, you know,
That's important too in the moment,
Mhm.
because there are certain songs, and I've heard, I don't know, 6, I think,
Mhm.
maybe at this point, and they're all great and they all have their own identity
Mhm.
but they're all you,
Mhm.
which is wonderful, because I like that you're not trying to typecast yourself. Oh, I'm the whatever
Yeah.
person. You know, I'm the sad and depressed, or I'm the always happy.
Mhm.
You know, because we're human beings and
Mhm.
we're not all one emotion.
No.
And especially in the world of Instagram and social media,
Mm-hmm.
we all have the Instagram life where it's so fake.
Mhm.
And like, you need to feel like you're projecting the best life,
Mhm.
but sometimes the best life is not
Mhm.
glamorous.
Nope.
You know?
And that's why I think it took me so long to get to this place of writing this album, because of the level of vulnerability that I had to accept and be okay with. That took me a really long time to get to that place of like, oh, people are going to know that I'm struggling. Like, I don't want people to know that I'm struggling
Yeah.
because, you know, when I was younger, it was always about keeping my head above water and everything's good. You know what I mean? It's the classic, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so it was once I finally got to that place where I was like, okay, I have emotions. That is okay.
Yeah.
I am sad about this. That is okay. I am mad about this. That is okay. I'm also a really happy person a majority of the time. That is okay.
Yeah.
Then I think that's when I was really set and ready, locked and loaded to be like, okay, I can write all of this and I can put it out and I'm okay with it because I'm okay with myself.
Yeah.
You know, which is a hard place to get to.
Yeah. Yeah. That sense of needing to seem that you've made it. And I don't think anybody's truly ever made
No.
it. Like, you're always, at least for me, I always want to be reaching for the next level.
When you get to that level of all of the things that you wanted to get done to get to that level, there will be a million other things that you need and want to change and get better at and get done to get to that next level. I mean, I don't think you ever have to plateau unless that's your choice. I think we're always supposed to be learning and growing and changing and getting better. But it requires effort.
And it means that you have to step outside your comfort zone. You have to be uncomfortable.
Totally.
You know, and I think that makes for great creativity too, because you're struggling in a lot of.
And like with anything, the more you do it, the easier it gets, the better you get at it. The pathways in your brain are created that it's more familiar. So,
Yeah.
you know, stepping out of your comfort zone in the beginning, it's hard, but staying out of it is what's the hardest, because once you start doing that more often, then it just becomes easier.
Yeah, it's gotten to a point where I really like being uncomfortable. And if I plateau, this is a oxymoron, I guess. If I plateau, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I want it feels stale. If I just stay there too long. It's great to get up to that level.
It feels mundane.
Yeah, you know, I need to challenge
Apathetic.
myself
Totally.
and go up to the next one, you know, and just keep going. And not meaning that I have to be rich or famous. I don't have to, like, it's just I want to learn.
Yeah.
I want to build my skills, you know. And,
Totally. When I was younger, I wanted to be famous. That was like what I wanted. I would be going to Fashion Island and people would come up to me, be like, audition for Disney Channel, and I'd come home and I'd be like, please, 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 please let me do it. Please let me do it. My parents would be like, no. I'm like, why not? I'd watch Disney Channel and be like, that should be me. And then I grew up and I was like, oh, that's actually like not what life's about at all, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in terms of what I view as success for myself as an artist is I just want to be able to make music for the rest of my life and that be the only thing I'm doing. You know, I only want to be able to be performing for people, and that's what I'm doing for the rest of my life. If that means I have millions of fans, then cool. But if it means that I have like a smaller group of fans that are just ride or dies and they really like my music and I still get the opportunity to go and tour and perform for people and make music and, you know, just do all that, then that's what's successful to me. It's just being able to make music and live out my dream, whether it means a huge scale or a smaller scale. I don't really know what it's going to be, and I honestly don't really care. I just want to be able to make music. That's all I really care about. And I'll always be able to make music, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to not have to do the 9 to 5 thing on top of
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally get that.
which is part of life. But
So let's talk about the music. So
Yeah.
you have a number of songs coming out
Yes.
this year. So you have a single that you just released,
Mhm.
and then you have throughout the rest of the next few months, you're going to be releasing another one in an EP.
yeah, I have so much going on. So
Yeah.
there's 12 songs in all.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about, constant flow of content,
Mm-hmm.
short attention spans.
Yeah.
There's kind of a strategy a little bit that you should have with releasing music. So I'm a new artist, known who I am. So I don't want to wait too long, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I also don't want to wait too short.
Yeah.
Of a time in between, because you don't want to wait too long where people forget about you, but you don't want to go too short where all your music's out and then people already forget about you 2 months after, and you worked a year and a half to make the music.
Yeah.
So my strategy, my plan is I have 3 singles coming out. My first one was on the 21st of February, a month apart each.
Mhm.
And then an EP. An EP is like a smaller album. So my first EP will have 5 songs on it. 3 of the singles that already came out, and then 2 extra songs. Then I'll probably wait a little bit after that, month or 2. And then I'll have 2 more singles, about a month and a half apart. And then an EP2, which is about 4 songs. And then I think timing-wise, September will be the full album, and that'll be all 12 songs out. So I'm trying to be strategic about it, while also, like, after releasing this first song, I kid you not, I was like, okay, I want to release it all just right now. I just want to.
Yeah,
It was so much fun. It was so much fun to see the response. So much fun to have people hitting you up that you just haven't heard from in a while, and just watch the analytics, watch how things are going. But you also have to stick to your plan. So I have a plan, and I'll be releasing all this year, making people wait for the full album until September. But I think it's a good plan. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to get it all out.
It makes sense. It
Mhm.
makes sense in today's society. And what made you release, out of all the songs that you have,
Mhm.
what made you release Satisfaction first?
Okay, so as I mentioned, full wide spectrum of songs in terms of mood, in terms of feel, in terms of topic, all that kind of stuff. And I chose Satisfaction because I think it's just a really good introduction to me as an artist, to my sound, to my vibe, to me as a person. It's a very happy song. It's a very, just like chill, vibey song. It's nothing too deep quite yet. It's literally, if you couldn't tell from listening to the song, it's literally just about being on the beach, which is my happy place, and just watching the world exist and just do its thing, and how that's just satisfying to me. You know what I mean? It makes me feel content to know that the world's just spinning, doing its thing. It's a perfect day. I don't know. I just felt like it was a really good introduction to me as an artist, and to the album too.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. It was a good first. And so now it's like, you're just gonna, as I continue to release, it's gonna be more and more layers below, teaching you more about who I am.
I think it was a good, out of all the songs I've heard, it's, I think the most upbeat, like just naturally, like just very happy. So it's a good way to start off. What advice would you have for people that are looking to get into any creative industry, maybe specifically your music? If they're looking, there's people out there right now, they're like, oh, I have some songs, I have my notebook, my journal, whatever, and I'd love to. What would you tell them?
It's funny because I don't even feel qualified to give advice. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'm just me or whatever. I think that you just staying true to who you are, and, doing all, at least for music and honestly any medium, just for the right reasons, which is for your own joy and your own happiness. You know what I mean? Like, if you love writing music, then keep on writing music. Like, that's all that matters. If you like singing and making music like I do as an artist, then keep on doing that. If you like making videos, like, don't stop doing that. You know what I mean? Don't stop pushing yourself to explore your creativity and to explore what it is that you have to offer and what it is that you have to say, because, we grow so much as people every single day. So, what you're going to say when you're 15, you might judge it and be like, oh, that was so shallow, but you never know what you'll have to say at 25, 10 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you just never stop, then you're never going to stop growing, and you're never going to stop honing your skills and getting better. Until you finally, I don't know, I get to that place where you really feel like you've hit something that's really meaningful, kind of like, you making these videos for other people to, understand more about creativity and understand more about exploring that for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be my advice, is just don't stop. Just keep on doing it, because you just never know how you could affect other people's lives.
I agree 100%. And it's hard because a lot of people hear that from everybody all the time. They say, oh, just keep going, do it for yourself. And there's some wall that at some point you just break through. And I think for a lot of people, it's just the frustration of like trying to fit the mold of other people and what their expectations are. And eventually you forget it. I'm going to give it up. And then eventually you just pick it up because you love it.
Yeah.
And I think,
exactly.
Yeah. And it's just,
exactly. There's no need for pressures of other people to be weighing you down. I think a lot of things that people stress about too is like, they think about all the ways that it could go wrong before they even start.
Yeah.
And it's like, just start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just do it and then see what happens, instead of being like, well, I can't do it because of this. I can't do it because of this. But what about this? What if they hate this? It's like, okay, you're not going to be able to please everyone.
Yeah.
Ever. Literally ever. No one in the world has ever pleased everyone across the board. There's always going to be people that love you. There's always going to be people that hate you. There's always going to be people that just don't even care about you. And that's part of life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that shouldn't stop you from exploring your own creativity and your passions and what you care about in life,
Yeah.
Because that's no way to live.
Yeah.
It's not about others as much as you think. And it is about others. It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balance.
I love it.
I love it too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for wanting to chat with me. It's been really fun.
It was honestly an honor because you gave me the music and I listened and I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I have to try to do what I can to help with your message. And
I'm very excited. It's been a long time coming, and I hope that you guys listen, and I hope that you enjoy. And if you don't, that's okay too.
And that's it. I had a great time talking to Megan. It's always cool to sit down with creatives and see how like kind of lines blur in the creative thought process. I do imagery, she does music, but there's still so many cool things that kind of like intersect. Make sure that you check out her music. I'm going to put some links in the description below. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know how to reach me. Until next time, be good to each other.